Welcome back to KC on Tap, everybody. It is awesome to have you along board. However you're listening, wherever you're listening, whether it's on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, I greatly appreciate it. Today, Friday, June the 21st of the year 2024. It's a hot one out there. July 4th is right around the corner. The 4th of July, the most American of holidays. I mean, what do we do for the 4th of July? Fireworks and booze, baby. Let me just give you some advice. We're all going to see the headlines that say, man or woman, arm, leg blown off in 4th of July fireworks, alcohol-infused accident. Don't be that person. Let somebody else light the fireworks. Onward. So today we're going to do this show a little bit different. It's KC on Tap. So what does that mean? When you go into your local bar, local establishment, you say, hey, what's on tap? It's always something different, right? My dog. I thought it would be a good idea to answer this particular request, which is, Casey, can you please do a show and discuss your journey of sobriety along with some advice or tips for those of us struggling personally? Many thanks and forever grateful. Now, before you turn this off, I'm going to try to touch on a couple of scenarios that you may or may not be experiencing right about now. You're looking at a first ballot Hall of Fame drinker right here. Okay, let's start with that. A lot of people, they get turned off. They start to feel a little sting. Oh, he's going to talk about alcohol. Well, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. Well, why? Something stingy? You know, my grandpa used to tell me that that sting usually means that there's light getting in there somewhere. You know, when you go to like a dentist and they're in there with their hook, or you open a cellar door and you hear all the rats starting to squirm around. Ooh, get some light in there. Maybe a husband said something really nasty to their wife last night and they're feeling guilty all day about it. They don't know how to apologize. Or the wife said or did something really nasty to the husband last night and they just don't really know how to approach it today. So we're going to sweep it under the rug and we're going to move on. Let me try to help you with this. Have you ever had a crack in your windshield? A little stone hit your windshield. First, doesn't seem like much, right? I'll put that off. You start to see that thing grow and grow and grow. Well, you need to imagine that hitting the windshield of your relationship, hitting the windshield of your job performance, your family time with your children, with your dogs, with your nieces, your nephews, hitting the windshield of your life. Just a multitude of incredibly horrible outcomes out of something that says, this is for you. You're living the high life. Are you a fighter? Modella for the fighter in you. The most interesting man in the world. He doesn't always drink beer, but when he does, it's Dos Equis. How interesting do you think that guy is after 3 or 4 Dos Equis? Not very interesting at all. There's a John Bon Jovi factor here when it comes to alcohol. It's all the same, only the names change. We're going to talk about specifics and hopefully help you or help somebody in your life who's struggling, that internal struggle, that horrible, silent struggle that most drinkers have. We've been raised to think, I can't say something to somebody. That would make me an alcoholic. Once I say I have a drinking problem, well, that paste can't go back in the tube. That means I'm always an alcoholic, right? That means I have this horrible disease that can never be cured, right? I don't know. To each their own when it comes to that philosophy. What I'm here to tell you is it's okay to say, I'm struggling right now with alcohol. And if you aren't around the people that you can say that to, here's another little bit of stingy light and truth that's going to come straight into your soul. Maybe it's time to be around new people. My grandpa used to tell me, mosquitoes need a swamp, Case. They need other fresh blood to constantly buzz around and to extract life from. Today is my 3,084th day. So I'm into my 9th year without taking a sip of alcohol. I have a lot of wives, girlfriends approach me and say, can you talk to my brother, boyfriend, my husband? I think he may have a drinking problem. Get this message in front of them because I'm a man. I have all the same man tendencies they have, Oh, I'm too tough to admit this. Oh, I'm strong enough to handle this. Oh, I don't need help. Very common for men. It's a struggle for men. The struggle is real, and together, who knows? Maybe we can work on that. Make it a little more palatable moving forward. Many people send me messages, whether it's TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, email, @KC I will be here. I will respond to your messages that you send me with encouragement, with hope, with truth. If you think there's a rock bottom, stay on the current elevator you're on. There's always another floor down. If you're comparing your worst thing to somebody next to you, like, oh man, he's had 5 DUIs. I mean, the only thing that I've ever had happen is, a couple arguments with my wife. I'm in nowhere near where they're at. Okay, stay on that elevator. So alcohol wins. You don't win. That's the most important message I could give you. Stay on that elevator. You'll see how much lower it goes. Which brings me to my sobriety. I went and buried one of my lifelong friends, one of my dear friends from second grade on. His name was Doug Dorley. He had passed from alcohol use and drug use, and he's 40 years old at the time. He had a casket, Notre Dame football casket. Imagine that Notre Dame sign, that big gold ND, right, with the navy blue. And on that casket, so help me God, it said, play like a champion today. And I was sitting in that church, St. Charles Borromeo, Lima, Ohio, west side of Lima, small little Catholic community that I grew up in. That was a church that I had first communion in, church that I had my confirmation in, right? All the Catholic traditions. Interestingly enough, I couldn't go in that morning before I took 2 or 3 swigs of the bottle of Maker's Mark whiskey that I had under my driver's seat in my Jeep at the time. That's right. I got so drunk the night before that I literally had to drink 3 shots of whiskey. Not exaggerating. Swigs right out of the bottle, if you can just imagine that, before I went into that church, just to calm the nausea. So I'm sitting in the church and just the most splitting headache, of course, because hangovers are a blast, aren't they? I had the most splitting headache, and I was so uncomfortable. My face was swollen, and my shirt and tie felt like it was constricting my throat. And that casket went by me, and sitting in this church that now felt so much smaller than it did when I was just a little boy. I just knew I was sweating, and I was just. It was one of the most emotionally intense situations I've ever been in. I've never had a close friend die that young, and all of my lifelong friends, we were with each other for the funeral, all of us, and the parents were there. And it was just to say surreal is a massive understatement. Christmas Eve morning, Irish Catholic family, one of the most kind, loving families you'd ever want to know, burying their son. He was my classmate on Christmas Eve. And that was the day that I knew my relationship with alcohol had to come to an end. Clean break, no more booty calls, no more hookups, not once a month, not once every 6 months. I had to end this relationship for good. This was a long-term relationship that I'd had. I'm a social drinker. I drink like everybody else. Everybody drinks. Oh, come on, you're an adult. Don't drink like an adult. You're an adult. You can handle yourself. It's all just nonsense. Do you realize that alcohol is the only drug in our society? Think about this. Alcohol is the only drug in our society where someone has to create an excuse not to ingest it because of their perception, their fear of being looked upon differently. What the hell's the matter with you? You pregnant or something? You on the wagon? Well, see you next month. Ingrained in our mind, in our culture, to the point where if alcohol's not involved, what the hell are we doing? Let's do a scenario. I want you to think about going to a gym, AT&T or a Verizon, going to any retail location that requires you to sign a contract. So you're not selling me anything, boy. I'll tell you what I want. I'm not going to be had. No. What about this contract? You are going to have to pay me $150,000, $200,000 over the course of your life. An abundance of your energy, make you feel bloated. I'm going to take an abundance of your time and thought when it comes to your relationships and your job. Your job performance is going to suffer badly. I'm going to take 10 to 20 years off of your life. You're going to never really feel as good as you could possibly feel. You're never going to do as good as you could possibly do. And you're never going to live as good as you could possibly live. Now, sign here. That seems like a pretty intense contract. What am I getting in return by signing this? Nothing. What are you talking about? You could kill somebody with a car. You could kill yourself with a car. You could go to jail. You could have all kinds of trouble with the law and lawyers and money, and you could be known as a degenerate and things like that. Is that what you're talking about? No. Is that included? Oh, yeah, it's part of it. I get nothing out of this? Okay. maybe you'll have a 5 to 10 minute dopamine hit. How about that? That's all I get. Well, yeah, that's all. That contract is with alcohol. Who would sign that contract? Nobody would, ever. But we do. You do. Everyone does. You want to get someone's respect? You want to command respect? Walk into a room and tell people that you haven't drank alcohol for 10 years or going on 10 years. Watch what people do. I mean, I know people with a ton of money. I know people that done this, that done that. Nobody cares. Ultimately, respect is earned. People seek the light. They're attracted to the light. What is the light? Truth, right? They're attracted to it. You're born with it. And when you encounter someone who says, "No, I don't drink alcohol," I can't remember the last time someone, "Oh yeah, that's no big deal." To a man, to a woman, everybody. Whoa, I got to talk to that guy. You know what's interesting? I've been to a couple graduation parties recently, and I had a woman come up to me, and her eyes were in completely different directions, and she was buckled, and she was telling me how her son, who they both are clients at my gyms, her son now doesn't drink, and how important it is for me to maintain my sobriety so her son could have this role model to maintain his. Now, I want you to think about that picture. We talk about your relationship with alcohol. It gets really stingy. This is going to get really stingy. What if you had to never drink again for your teenage son, teenage daughter? What if in a perfect world, a hypothetical, what if you never drank again, your kids would never drink? Logically speaking, that should be the easiest decision you ever make. But it's not, is it? That's your relationship with alcohol. And this is about to get really stingy. If someone tells me that, then I in turn tell them that their relationship with alcohol is more important than their relationship with their children. And then those are fighting words, man. Those are fighting words, right? How dare you say that? I didn't say it. You did. I'm just reading the tea leaves, baby. I'm just looking at what you're laying down. Like my grandpa would say, I haven't heard a word that a human being has said in 40 years. We deceive with our words. No, I'm fine. What are you talking about? I don't have a problem. Get defensive. No, I don't need to hear what you're saying. I'll let your actions show me everything. Casey, you practically a stranger, but then in my son's life over the last few years as an instructor at this gym and this pillar of light and this beacon of sobriety, and I passionately stand at the mountaintops. There is no middle ground. Sobriety is the secret to the most healthy, clear-minded, passionate life you can live. I haven't had to text anybody or call anybody and say I'm sorry for some drunken buffoonery in 8.5 years, and my God, it feels great. Everybody who ends up struggling, which you will, there will be something that happens if you're dancing with the devil. They come to me. They seek me out in the most serious of times, and it's an incredible honor. Why? I was the biggest buffoon. I was the buffoon of buffoons. Some would argue I still am. Fine. But when push comes to shove, and when those people need to speak to somebody with a clear mind and an understanding of what they're going through now and where they want to be in the future, they turn to me. Imagine that. Imagine people in your life right now that think you're a total disaster. You start taking this walk one step at a time, very shortly, because they can't ignore truth. They can't ignore the respect they will have for someone walking the path of putting alcohol down and becoming truly liberated, free of the devil's juice, free of the good stuff, free of the fear of what will I do at birthday parties, grad parties, 4th of July, summertime. I gotta drink the booze. Free of all of this nonsense that is wired into this brain, and it poisons the very spirit and soul that you're given in this world. to bestow amongst others. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to tell you that right now. When you see someone drunk or when you're drunk, it's all fun. It's so fun. I'm wasted. Really? God, I remember those days. Not as fun. I look back on them now. A poison-induced disruption in the way your neurocircuits work. Alcohol's a poison, by the way. In this 6-pack of thoughts I'm bestowing upon you, alcohol is a poison, right? Alcohol is a poison. What do I mean by that? Well, interestingly enough, alcohol is both water soluble and fat soluble in your body. Of course it is. I mean, it's the greatest trick the devil ever pulled. So it's going to be one of those things that it could just come and go through cells as it pleases. And a lot of substances can't. It's water soluble and fat soluble. So alcohol, in other words, passes through your cells, any cells. Alcohol it's like a free pass at Cedar Point. Think about one of those fast passes at Cedar Point. Up front of the line. Alcohol is a free pass to any cells. The alcohol, which is ethanol, that we ingest in our bodies, it is a poison, right? It's our body needs to get rid of that. So it converts it into acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde is what it converts it into. And that is another poison. Your body actually converts it to that to then convert it to something else, which is acetate. Okay. This is how the body has to get rid of alcohol. It is a poison, and essentially it's a poison converted into a worse poison. Alcohol can actually cross the blood-brain barrier. Interestingly enough, it crosses the blood-brain barrier. All right. And just as it would be, of course, what does the alcohol have a propensity to attach itself to? It has a propensity to attach itself to your prefrontal cortex, okay, your top-down inhibition in your brain. It's incredible how alcohol it does this. You don't believe me? You could look this up. So in other words, what do I mean by prefrontal cortex or top-down inhibition? Your thinking, your planning, and your suppression of impulsive behavior. That's what alcohol wipes away, okay, leading to just disaster after disaster after disaster. What do we do then? The next day we apologize. Oh, just because he was drunk. Oh, it's just because I was drunk. Oh, it's time to stop giving yourself a free pass. Okay. If you're a man and you treat your children or your family or your wife or your job poorly, it's time to take a look at your relationship with alcohol. Okay. You don't need to say it out loud. Look in the mirror because you know the truth. How much is your relationship with alcohol causing everything else in your life to suffer? Okay. Do me a favor. Spare me oh, you're just a nutbag. You're just an alcoholic. We have fun. We relax. We dot. As Jack Nicholson said, and as good as it gets, sell crazy somewhere else. We're all stocked up here. I know better and you know better. Okay. So wrapping up this 6-pack of thoughts. My sobriety journey began 3,044 days ago. And in closing, I will tell you this. When I go to speak to groups of students, and ultimately they'll ask me, is there anything that you would change, anything in your life, any regret, anything that you would change or do differently? And of the infinite amount of choices that I've ever made, things that I've ever done, there's only one thing I tell all these kids. If I could go back in time right now with this mind and realize, oh, I don't have to drink, do I? I would never have one drop of alcohol ever in my life. It's the single most powerful message that I can bestow upon you or anybody that you know or that you love. You're looking at someone who has drank more alcohol than most. And I'm sitting with you today, 8.5 years into my sobriety, telling you, if you could just give yourself a chance, to put the alcohol down. Okay. I don't care how successful you are. I don't care how good you think you feel. I don't care whatever lies you're telling to yourself. You are holding yourself back. Everyone tells me they want to be a great father. They want to be a great husband. They want to be a great dad. They want to be a great person. They want to do well in their job. They want to be remembered for all the right things. They want to give. They want to be healthy. They want others. I hear these words. Now let me see those actions. Put the alcohol down. Get yourself a notebook and a pen. Write down the truth. How do you feel after the first week? After the first 2 weeks? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And by God, I promise you as I'm sitting here, it's the single greatest decision you can make from the inside of your soul all the way to the depths and the reaches of every human, animal, bird, tree, otherwise, that you'll ever be in contact with again. All right? All right, so for now, we're going to wrap it up here. That's your check-in. That's your check-in with old Casey on Tap going into the July 4th weekend. Hope you've, hope some of this may have helped you. Maybe it'll help somebody you love. Please click on the link on Spotify. You can text the show directly, Casey on Tap. Keep those messages coming. Keep those questions coming. We'll have another mailbag next week. All right? So until then, I want to thank my sponsors. Chad Verhoff, my man Chad, the owner and master jeweler of Jackson Gray Jewelers in Chagrin Falls, Ohio. Folks, I'm telling you right now, if you're looking for a very unique, sentimental piece, if you're looking for something that really you want to be made with a personal touch and with all the feeling and the emotion you want to put into a piece for somebody as a gift or yourself, please contact Chad Verhoff at Jackson Gray Jewelers. Finally, 310 Labs, indie gaming company made of 2 software engineers, one in Ohio, one in Minnesota. They're passionate about Playmates. That means you and everybody else getting on this thing and downloading YASS, yet another Spider Solitaire. If you like to play a little solitaire and have a little competitive spirit inside of you, the deal of the day, you play solitaire and you compete for time and for points with everyone else around the country. Again, 310 Labs, YASS, yet another Spider Solitaire. Have a little fun. All right, until next time, everybody, download, subscribe, rate, review. Tell me how bad I suck. Tell me how good I am. Anywhere in between. Share it with a friend. I'd greatly appreciate it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Casey on Tap. Until next week, be safe. God bless. Peace and love. Take care. And bye-bye.